Thank you for tuning in to All Things Real Estate. Once again, here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Welcome back to the second half of All Things Real Estate. I am Gary Kelly, and that's Brad Avergon, and we are talking about if you have catastrophic damage in your house, what do you do? And in this particular case, Brad was relaying how he had had some problems and how to prepare yourself in advance if you need to have money for an emergency issue with your house.
Exactly. And, and specifically water damage, it's really funny. There are some things that you could say, well, we've got a project on the house. You were mentioning a 5-year plan that Sue had for renovations to her home. When you have water damage, I would definitely consider that an emergency situation. Not that water is always necessarily flowing from the ceiling fixtures, because oftentimes you can turn the water off, you can secure it. But what happens behind the scenes, so to speak, behind that sheetrock can be extremely expensive. So you really can't delay when it comes to water damage. If humidity gets back there and mold spores grow, it can make the initial damage that may have been relatively inexpensive fix very expensive to fix. So it's not something you want to ignore. And as I said, having a home equity line of credit in place is really good. Having 6 months reserves in the bank is great if you don't feel you need that line of credit. Just being able to tap funds, or if you need a personal loan or a second mortgage.
I had a home that I was representing the seller on, and there was an inspection going on. The inspector turned a faucet on in a small, half bath and walked away, and literally the sink overflowed, water everywhere. And when he finished the inspection, it was, oh my God, how did this happen? Well, you turned on all the water. We weren't. And what I will share with you is it was like a cartoon. You could see the tires on his truck lighting up as he sped away from the scene of the crime. But it was exactly that. Sue came over. I was going to use my little shop vac and clear it up. And as I was using my little shop vac, I'm getting water falling on my head. And I am so far out of my league. So again, we called ServPro, and they came in. And what struck me about the team that came in that particular case, it was a condo in Ashland. They came in and didn't really talk to each other. They went about their work. They knew how far up the wall they were going to cut out, what to do. They packaged everything up in plastic. And this was a matter of hours that it took them. I mean, they were very, very fast. And then they bring in these really huge air movers and really huge dehumidifiers, because they're trying to make sure that you don't make the problem worse. You don't grow mold and that kind of thing. And I would say that that's a case where seeing how professionals do it versus what you or I might do really shows you the value of having professionals help when it's a problem that kind of gets out of control.
You know what? Having the right equipment and the right tools makes all the difference in the world. You mentioned, Sue asked you to bring home a mop. You said, I'm coming home with a shop vac that can suck up water. You mentioned that in the first half of the show we did. The reality is that water travels, whether it is sucked up by the carpet and the padding under it, or if it runs along a joist or a ceiling joist and travels and goes down to other areas, it travels and it can create a lot of damage. So when these guys come in, I had a similar situation. I had a vanity let go in a basement bathroom, and we brought them in, and they come in with these giant mega fans that there's no way you and I would ever buy these air movers or anything like it. Well, what would you do with them after the fact? You have no need. But because this is their specialty, they use these day in and day out: dehumidifiers, air movers, giant heavy duty vacuum cleaners with more sucking power than any vacuum you and I could ever imagine.
Oh, and they've got special I want to say a joke, but it's not something that's appropriate for video.
It's a G-rated show. they have water meters that I didn't even know existed. So I thought my vanity was fine, right? It was your typical Home Depot vanity. They stuck a meter, like a needle in
They're called moisture meters.
moisture meters, exactly. They stuck it in and they go, this thing is toast. The wood has absorbed the water like a sponge. You need to get rid of it. I said, but I don't see any visible water. It's inside the material. And if it's inside the material, it can grow mold. You're done. You got to go get a new. Oh, okay. So this is their trained profession. This is what they do, and you definitely, I would not hesitate to bring those guys in when you have something like
So,
this.
Brad, if you're trying to finance that renovation that you were just forced into, sometimes contractors will say, well, we have a way that, we will finance it. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a lot of the contractors, they'll have that, and it is a potential solution, but you really need to look at the fine print. Oftentimes, the interest rates are much higher. Sometimes the contractors are getting a little bit of a kicker for offering that type of service when you take the financing with it. So you do need to really look at the fine print. Definitely check out some alternatives. Talk to your local mortgage person, talk to your local banker, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's a personal loan. Maybe it is an equity line of credit that you can get, and it's not going to be a problem. They just a lot of loans these days, especially if it's a small one, they use something called an AVM, an automated valuation model. Basically, they use a computer database to determine if there's enough equity in your home based on what your first mortgage is, and you can get either a line of credit or a second mortgage or whatever, or a personal loan, and not have to really address those. So it's definitely worth looking into options.
Yeah, my experience is that those notes that the contractor comes with are probably not competitive with other products in the marketplace. They may be quick because the guy's sitting in front of you and you can sign up, but I would delay, make a couple of phone calls, and make sure that you're doing the right thing overall.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
So, Brad, you go in and you've now decided that you're going to put in new vanities, new hardwood. Can't you go the opposite way and over improve your place if you're not careful?
Well, I think it's. I would say the answer is yes. You probably would be better at addressing over improving than I would. But I would say to you, having gone through this, it's certainly when you're ripping everything out. If you were thinking about doing anything, or your partner or spouse was thinking about doing anything, that conversation comes right up to the forefront, and it no longer becomes, oh, we just need to fix this. It now becomes a new investment into the property with additional funds that are not going to be necessarily covered by insurance. But over improving is definitely a concern. What would you say about that?
Well, I think it's true, and I think that the advice to think about what the changes are you've been thinking about anyway is good. At the risk of making it sound like I'm into full whole home remodels, one of the things that struck me when Sue found a contractor, key words there, Sue had to find the contractor to do the work in the house. The contractor wanted to come in and do the work. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't think that she was attempting to take advantage of Sue by any stretch. But when you have a crew of people in a house doing all the things that need to be done, it's far more affordable to reconfigure a bathroom at that point than it is to do that as a separate project later. So I think that there has to be, if you have a contractor that you trust and a contractor you value, having that discussion about, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while. I think that this is something I'd like to do. Let's put this onto the table now for conversation. And again, it may not be things that you had planned on doing in the short term, but it may be the most cost effective, efficient, less disruptive time to do it. I remember distinctly the contractor that Sue found. She removed the toilets from both bathrooms in the house, whether they were impacted or not. And, what did that do? Made it so Sue couldn't be in the house. Did the contractor do that intentionally? I think she did. I absolutely think that she did, as a way, because, it's your home. You want to see what they're doing. But all the time you're there and all the time you're talking to the guys or the gals, yeah, it's costing the contractor money, and that works against you in the long run.
It does, but you do bring up a very, very key point. Now, in Sue's particular case, this happened to be a second home for Sue, and so she had another home to live in. But one of the things that you really need to be concerned about is when a contractor is going to be coming in and they're going to be fixing the problem or possibly doing some additional work, renovating the property, you do need to be concerned of, well, how is this going to affect my living? Having made the mistake of renovating a property while living inside of it, even though we had access to a bathroom that worked, it is not an easy thing, and it was very challenging at times. We had no kitchen. The bathrooms were down to one. So it's not easy, and you've got dust in the air. So if you have any respiratory issues, it can be a real problem. If you have children, contractors are not known for picking up every nail that they put down when they're doing that. You have to be diligent, or if you have pets. So you really have to think about it before you just jump into something like that, and maybe make some alternative living arrangements for a short period of time if you need to.
If you had the same problem happen again, you'd move out of your house?
If I had the same situation, I would not have lived here. I don't think at that time. That was a mistake. That I would have. I don't know. The move out is too strong a word, but I would have arranged during that time to not be living in the house. It was not good.
Right. I get it. So, Brad, if someone wants to talk about this kind of topic, how would they reach you?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell phone, which is 978-375-5531, or they can reach me at brad@bradavergon.com. And Gary, how do they reach you?
I'm Gary Kelly. I'm with Cassidy Realty Group. I can be reached at 508-733-6005 or Gary@movewithgary.com. Sue is Sue@movewithgary.com or movewithgk.com. If someone wants to talk to Sue about her personal experiences, because I'm presenting one, her experience was, I'm sure, a little bit different because it was her house. And the contract, the interesting thing on this one is the contractors I had originally found, would only talk to me and would not talk to Sue. And Sue, frankly, is the owner of the house. That was kind of uncool. So Sue put something up on community Facebook group, which the guys saw. They immediately let us go, and Sue found this other contractor that it was love at first sight.
Hey, one more comment before we let our viewers go, which is insurance of contractors. You brought up the case with the home inspector that left the water running, created damage, and then took off like lightning. Make sure that any contractors that you're working with have liability insurance. If they make a problem, if they pierce a pipe, if they leave the water running, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that they're insured to cover any damage that they may cause.
Good point. All right, Brad, thank you. We'll see you again.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Once again, thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.